This is Structure Analyze and Modeling Portal. Section Introduction to GSA. This tutorial is combined with 3 parts. The first part starts from the new model definition to the introduction of the top 2 bars. The second part it contains the left-hand 2 bars and the right-hand 2 bars, whilst the third part contains the gateway menu and the bottom 2 bars. So what you see here is the GSA window. When we need to determine the behavior of the structure under certain kind of excitation, we will use GSA to conduct the structure analyze and modeling process. So first of all, we need to create a new file, and we can input the job title as structure analyze and modeling portal. And please be aware that what you input in here won't influence anything you're going to do in the modeling process. It's just we marked it down for easy reference. And the subtitle can be introduction to GSA. And next, here what you define will influence the structural modeling process. The first will be the structure type, which is the space. And sometimes you will choose pen, but most of the case there will be space. As for the units, it's recommended that you just click on the kilonewton-meter on your right hand side. But 2 points need to be mentioned in here. One is the length, small here. Here, right now it's defined as millimeter, but sometimes people may just select it as meter. But please be aware that this unit is used to describe the cross-section size of each member. So that if you have a member with a cross-section size of 500 mm by 500 mm, and if you select the unit as meter, you have to input 0.5 by 0.5. Of course, if you input millimeter, that will be 500 by 500. Sometimes when people select the meter and they just forget to convert the unit, they just input 500 by 500, that eventually they will get a very huge element, very huge element with that kind of cross-section size. So we change back to millimeter. The other thing is the stress here. Some people may get confused about Newton per square millimeters is equal to how many pascals. So if you have the same problem, then just choose to megapascal or gigapascal. And press OK. The others we don't need to change them. As for design codes, because during this series we are most focused on the analyze and the modeling part instead of the design according to design code part, so we can leave it as a default. User materials you can define in here or later during the modeling process. Sometimes when we need to define certain kind of material that the software doesn't have, the program does have, like high-grade concrete or zero-density material, we will add a material here. And if your structure, your project is very simple, very ordinary, very traditional, very typical, you can just select the data generate here and choose one of the structure type. Most common in the space type, that will be space frame. So you also have to specify the number here. If you don't understand, you can refer to this small diagram here. But for example, let's say the bay width in X direction, there will be 4. In Y direction, there will be 5. Number of bay, that will be how many numbers of bays in X direction. Let's say 4, and Y is also 4. Maybe change it to 3 and 4. Okay. so that the total length of this structure in the x direction, there will be 4 times 3 equal to 12 meter, and here in the y direction there will be 5 times 4 equal to 20 meters. The height is the floor to floor height, or the height of each story. So let's say the like 3.5, and number of stories, let's say 6. The section definitions is define the cross section of these columns, beams in x direction, beams in y direction. You can do that later in doing the modeling process. So yeah, or you can specify it now. We'll cover that in one of our sections later. Here, include supports. When you select this one, it means that the in-cast supports are created at the base of the columns, the ground floor columns. The in-cast support means fixed support, so the bottom of the ground floor columns, they will be fixed. Include self-weight means that if you select this option, then the GSA will automatically calculate the self-weight of each member, so you don't need to do the math by yourself. Generally, story grade plans is used for when you need to define something like grade area loads, those things. You generally need to have a grade plan on each floor, each story. You click on next, and click on finish. Then we will have our very first model here. Okay, so right now what you see in this area which shows the model is the main window. And at the top part, there will be a menu and the top 2 bars, including the cases, this display. And at the left hand side, there will be left hand 2 bars, these 3, and the gateway menu. On the right hand side, there will be 2 right hand 2 bars. At the bottom, there will be the bottom 2 bars, including the shortcuts and the object viewer. So as you can see that actually these 2 bars can be arranged according to your own preference. So or according to the other's preference. So when you open your GSA file in another computer, you may find that the layout of these 2 bars is not what you like, or not according to your own preference. So you can go to the view 2 bars, and click on the reset 2 bars, and then it will reset it to this shape, this arrangement. And sometimes you can change it to fit your own preference. Wow, that can be hard. Yeah, like what I'm doing now. Okay. So in this tutorial, we will start from talking about the main window, then the top 2 bars, including the cases display. In the second part of this tutorial, we will talk about the left-hand 2 bars and the right-hand 2 bars. And in the third part of this tutorial, we'll talk about the gateway menu here, and the bottom 2 bars, including these shortcuts and the object viewer. So in the main window, we also call that as the graphic view area. It's the big rectangular window here in the middle. For an ongoing model, it usually shows how the structure looks like this one, or like, for example, this one. This is one of the structures that have been built before. Okay, and at the bottom left corner here, it shows the dimensional coordinate system, and it will rotate when you rotate the model. Okay, and here shows the scale factor, which is Right now it's 1 to 104.7. And if you zoom in or zoom out, this factor changes. It also says here part is excluded by volume because I use the volume to show only a part of this structure. The volume 2 will be introduced later in the second part. Okay, go back to this model. As you also notice that the background color of in the main window is not white. So if that bothers you, you can go to the menu window, settings, fonts and styles, and select white background. Okay. See, that's what you get, a white background. And if you want to change it back, just unselect them. Okay. So then we move on to the top toolbars. Start from this one, which is the standard toolbar. So from the left to right is pretty straightforward, which is create a new file, open an existing file, close the file you are doing now, and save the file. So in our case, we should save our files. Save to GSA and save it. Here is cut, copy, paste, print preview, undo, redo, and these two functions here, these two tools here are the undo view and redo view. We use this example to illustrate that. For example, when I looking at the model in this direction, yeah, and then I change an angle, another direction to look at it, and change it again, and then I want to look at the first. I want to look at this model in the first direction I used. So I don't remember what direction is that, and it's so hard to adjust that. So generally, what we can do is just click on undo view. It shows the last view of this model. Click on several times, and yeah, it gets what I first saw of this model. And if we undo it, we can also redo it to see the next view. Okay, and for the next toolbars, there will be the GSA toolbar. Start from the left, there will be open or close gateway. Open or close the object viewer, which is at the bottom. Data defaults. So in the beginning, you don't need to use this function actually, because you can pretty easy to select one element and change the property. But when you are constructing a very massive structure, it's a very good idea that when you build a column, when you build a beam, you build it according to the properties, because you will have so many properties, including different kind of cross sections, different kind of material. So it's better when you build something, you build it right. You don't need to change it later. But in the beginning, because it's pretty simple, the structure is pretty simple, you don't need to do that. Here is the new graphic view. When you select that, you just see shows how it looks like when you first open this file. The new output view based on if you already have an output. Okay. So in this model, we already have an output, so we can see that. For example, the loading. And with a second, we will see all the loadings apply on this structure. This one is analyze all. When you have finished designing your structure and input the specified loading, and the other factors, and you think, okay, is right now we can conduct the analysis. You can click on here, analyze all, and the program will start to analyze the structure. Here is new analyze task. When you click that, you can add another analyze task for different types of analyze. This one, erase all the results, is when you have after you finish with the outputs and you want to change the size of the cross section or the value of the loads. You should click on erase all the results and change them. Otherwise, you can't do anything about it. And as for this toolbar, there will be the data options toolbar. First is the wizard. This function will be used later, so we'll explain that later. This one is find. The reason for that is so important is because if you have a very big project and when you read the output result or the analyzed result, it says that, for example, in the column of 138 or in the element of 138, there's the minimum is so huge or the connection is not right, and you don't, even though that each element has their own number, as you can see here, it will be still very hard to find it all by yourself. Looks like that. Small project like that seems okay, but very huge project is unrealistic. So what we do is, for example, I want to find out the element 138. I click on find, select elements, and input 138. Press OK. Okay, then it shows that it is this element. That will be element 138, as you see here, right? So it's very convenient. This one is the font. Actually, you have just seen that when we define the white background. What is important to know that is because, for example, I label the number of the nodes, and I think that this number is so small. So I want to increase the size of it. So here at the scaling factors, I increase the size. That's okay. See that then right now the numbers increase, the size of the number increase. And we can make it back. You can just input 1. Yeah. This one will be the units. Is similar to what we just defined in the beginning. So if you want to change any setting, you can change it here and the global setting will change. If you think you define something wrong or you think you prefer more to use other units, you can change it here. Okay. This one is the numeric format. Shows how many significant figures it shows. So, for example, in this model, if you look at its bending moment, you can have a look at its value, which is by using this function, select for nomination here at the left-hand toolbar, and you can see that the value of here is 240.8 kilonewton meter. So you want to increase the significant figures. Do you think that's too small or the figures is not precise enough? You can raise to 6. And you see it become to 240.761. That's more precise than 240.8. And if you want to just increase or decrease the precision, you can just click these two tools here. For example, if you want to decrease that, that's how you do that. You want to increase that, yeah, that's how to do that. So it's pretty straightforward. This one, that will be the axis. Generally, we use the global axis, but sometimes you may need to use the others, so you can define it in here. And this toolbar, that will be the command toolbar. We compiled most of the most of the commonly used operation or functions you need to use in here. It's better for you to get to know this more after you have a better understanding about how all these functions work. And this toolbar, that will be the recorders. In the default setting, it won't show itself. You can either open it via menu, view, toolbars, recorder, or you can click on the right hand toolbars here, recorder toolbar. Okay. The use of this toolbar is when you need to show your client or someone else about a short video introducing about this model. Like if you want to show them looks like that, you can record the video pressing the start recording. You can pause it, you can freeze it, and you can end and save the recording. Okay. And then there will be the cases. That's generally the load cases. For here, it's generally only have one load cases. But if we look at here, we actually have several load cases. For example, in the load case 3, that means that the wind load case in y direction, and load case 4 is wind load in x direction. So using this load case, we can see that under different load conditions, how the structure will behave. And this one is displayed elements. For example, if I want to see about everything, okay, if I want to see the first 2 tail flow columns, I can just select them and see them. The reason for I can see them is because I define them as a list in the beginning, so I can just choose the list and see the elements I want. For example, I will see the background structure. It looks like that. Okay. For example, if I want to see the 24 to 36 floor columns, yeah, it's pretty easy. So I don't need to select them piece by piece from, for example, I don't need to select them piece by piece here and here, which is quite slow. Okay. So that will be all for the first part of the GSA tutorial. Of the introduction to GSA. In the second part of the tutorial, we'll talk about the left-hand toolbars and the right-hand toolbars. And the third part of the tutorial, we'll talk about the gateway menu and the button toolbars.